Justin Martin is a writer, a poet, a philosopher, and he's going to share some of his works with us here today. I first met and encountered Justin during the Real Abilities Film Festival, which was held here in Columbus last year, and he captured, captivated, and silenced the room that day. He's an 11th grade student at Hilliard Darby High School here in Central Ohio, where he has also been teaching his AP English class the past few weeks. So I should add teacher as a further credential. He's also the 2009 recipient of the National Council for Exceptional Children's Yes, I Can Award. Please join me in welcoming Justin Martin.
I only have 5 minutes, so there isn't really time for pleasantries. But what I will say, I'm a writer, and in that I'm very concerned about, the stories we tell to each other and what it says about us, the contents of those stories. So one of the things that I look at is religion, and in pretty much every religion, it doesn't matter if it's Christian or pagan or what have you, there's a value placed on naming things. If you can name an angel or name a demon, if you can know its true name, you hold power and dominion over whatever that particular angel or demon is. And I'm in a phase in my life right now where I'm looking at college, I'm looking at adulthood, I'm looking at what I want to do with the rest of my life. So I've got to come to terms and grapple with a lot of my own angels and demons that come with being a disabled person in the year 2013. So I wrote this poem called Naming My Angels and Demons to kind of grapple with that situation. To the nights when I'm still up at 3 a.m. wondering what will happen if my child wants to learn how to throw a football, I name you Ambrose. To the realization at an early age that I would have to learn to open even the heaviest of doors because nobody would ever bother to turn the buttons on, I name you Andronicus. To the people who, earnestly and without malice, ask me if I have a penis as casually as old ladies ask to borrow a cup of sugar, I name you Arcadius. To the thankfulness that my penis, unlike the vast majority of my body, is still on speaking terms with me, I name you Aristocles. To the feeling when you see a little girl playing Dance Dance Revolution at an arcade, simultaneously hating her for not realizing her miracle and loving her for never having to, I name you Orsinius. To the moment when a small cousin is climbing on my wheelchair like a jungle gym, and I understand that fear, pity, and shame are all adult inventions, I name you Basilius. To all the birthday cakes that I've barely eaten, at the parties that I've barely been invited to, I name you Cassander. To all the mothers who force their children to invite me anyway, but never force themselves to consider why their children in their society put me on an island, I name you Cyrus. To the glorious chocolate drop contained within the 3-second pause after I make a cripple joke, wherein the audience considers if their laughter would tan them in the afterlife, I name you Demetrius. To the people who decided to call it the Special Olympics instead of the Olympics that even NBC won't air, I name you Draco. To the Center for Disease Control, who all too often seems to have placed a quarantine on any table I sit at, I name you Euclid. To the people just insane enough to break that quarantine, I name you Eutropius. To the years where there was mulch around the swings and slides of the playground, when I learned the value of the people who are more comfortable outside of it, I name you Georgios. To the 6 seconds before I drift under a surgical knife, exhaling to draw the border between the times when things happen through me and the times when things happen to me, I name you Herodotus. To comic books, where it is more likely for someone to be bitten by multiple radioactive spiders than it is for them to live happily while disabled, I name you Homer. To the little battles for dignity, whose cannon shots are seen in the eyes of the people who hear me sing a stave of music or help me set up a decent spare in bowling, I name you Isidore. To my doctor, who still ask me if I'm having unprotected sex every time we have an appointment, proving that even medical school can't kill one's optimism entirely. I name you Cleopatra. To the constant dread that takes hold when people ask me what I did this weekend, and I remember that most people can fit into their cars, I name you Leonidas. To the realization that my parents felt worse hearing that than I did writing it, I name you Linus. To all of the energy that I subconsciously devote to not looking spastic, I name you Myron. To whatever force blessed me with the ability to, when told that God will heal my legs, not respond with, so is that before or after he fixes your brain? I name you Nikon. To the fear that I'll want to go around one more time, less limited, I name you Olympos. And to the peace in knowing that if I don't live to see a just world, I can make sure that my children do, I name you Philon. Ambrose, Andronicus, Arcadius, Aristocles, Arsenius, Basilius, Cassander, Cyrus, Demetrius, Draco, Euclid, Eutropius, Georgios, Herodotus, Homer, Isidore, Cleopatra, Leonidas, Linus, Myron, Nikon, Olympus, and Philon, I cast you into the arms of my great-grandfathers for the sake of my great-grandchildren. I was going to read a second poem, but instead I think I'm going to leave you with a memory of mine that I think is very important to how we view disability in our world. Every Tuesday when I was a little kid, my mom would take me to physical therapy outpatient downtown somewhere, and I would, drive there and look out the car window in my car seat, and I would see all the people, playing soccer or playing their Xboxes or doing whatnot, and know that, I was about to be tortured for 2 hours while they had fun. And so I didn't know how to handle it back then. I was too young. So I would scream at my mom and yell at her and call her every name in the book. But the only thing, that would ever really hurt her was eventually sometimes I said, if people understood me, maybe this wouldn't be so bad. And I think we've all had moments. Actually, just raise your hand if you've ever just felt completely alone in the universe at some point. Like you were the only person who was looking out for you. Whether that's because of race, sexual orientation, gender, disability, any number of things that I'm forgetting. We've all had moments when we just feel like we're screaming out in the middle of the woods to nobody. And I think that English and telling stories and reading poetry and watching TV, that's our attempt to say, maybe I can't understand you, but I'm at least going to try. So I'd like to, dedicate this performance to my parents and my brother and just anyone in my life who sees disabled people in the way that astronomers see stars, these faraway objects that they can never really understand, but choose to love anyway. Thanks.